Hi everybody. This is my first time making a YouTube video, so please bear with me. My name is Ben, and I'm the winning bidder and buyer of what seems to be a fake precious metal gems Michael Jordan card that was sold on eBay on May 21st of 2024. I made this video not because I needed to, but because of the attention of this card that has received in the hobby. I feel it's good to share what has happened and what's going on, just for the awareness of the hobby and as the story develops. So let's get into it. For those of you guys that don't know the history, please take a look at Adam Gray's reel and also Dan the card guy. He has a really good video out there. Basically what happened was there was a card that was titled Precious Metal Gems Michael Jordan on eBay, and what it seems to be was it was a base Metal Universe Michael Jordan card that was just dyed red, either with a marker or some kind of acetone, and for some reason it got slapped by BGS as an authentic altered Michael Jordan Precious Metal Gems card, and I bought that card for $23,000 and change. A little bit about myself. I'm just a novice casual collector. I grew up in Chicago, a huge Michael Jordan fan, as a lot of kids were back in the days. Just like many new collectors, I got back into the hobby in 2020. I found the hobby to be a very different place than where I was as a teenager. But thanks to guys like Jeff Wilson, Sports Cars Investors, it made the hobby accessible and understandable for people like me. I enjoy buying cars that I couldn't afford when I was a teenager, as a kid. I'm not a flipper. I'm not even an investor. I'm just a collector that really likes Michael Jordan. I do buy some high value cards from Golden, PWCC, Alt, but that's only for collecting purposes. I'm not doing that to make money or run a business or anything like that. So why did I buy a fake PMG Michael Jordan card? Well, the short answer is I didn't know it was fake. I stumbled upon this card actually on the morning of the day that the auction closes, which is May 21st, 8 hours before the auction would end. I was getting ready to go to work, and I saw this PMG. I looked at it briefly. I did notice something that's off from the PMG photos that I've seen online. Now, for granted, I've never seen a PMG in person. Like I said, I'm just a casual collector. I noticed the background wasn't the same. It was missing serial number, and it was missing the PMG text. The first thing I did is I ran a check on the BGS number, and the number checks out. Although there's not a lot of information on BGS website, there's no photo. It did say it's a precious metal gems card, right? And then the second thing I did is I looked online to see if there's any information about PMG card with no serial number, and there were. There were a couple of cards that were PMG, no serial number, and still authentic. So even though the missing text, the background is a huge red flag, what went through my head was, could this be some kind of backdoor card, error card, misprint, or proof that BGS labeled it precious metal gems without putting on something like missing serial number or proof on it for some reason? Why, I don't know. And with those questions in mind, I put a bid of $35,000 on a card, a snipe bid. And honestly, to me, if it's an authentic card, it would fetch much higher than 35K. And if it's not, and if it's not a precious metal gems, eBay authentication would have caught that during the authentication process, and obviously for the reason that it's not a PMG. That is where I made my huge mistake. At the time of purchase, in my head, there were three scenarios that can happen, right? Scenario number one, this is a real PMG card, some kind of proof or an error card, but still a PMG, and a real BGS slab. this is basically what everybody that's bidding on this card is hoping that it is, right? Even though it seems impossible now, but for a novice collector without deep knowledge, I had no idea if an error card even existed or not. And I felt BGS authentication was good enough to indicate that this card is a precious metal gems. And I felt if it is, $35,000 for bid is on the low side, and most likely I would not get it. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two would be this is a fake card, but a real BGS slab. Now, this is where I think people like Adam Gray and Dan, a lot of people suspect what this card to be, which is a fake card, real slab. And that to me would indicate that BGS made a huge mistake. Instead of labeling it Metal Universe base altered, it labeled it a precious metal gems authentic altered. To me, I couldn't understand how this could happen, especially the grading was done in 2024 this year, right? What went through my head was, if a card like this surfaces in a grading company like BGS, it will get escalated to upper management and make sure extra precaution was taken to grade this card properly, because this is the grail insert of Michael Jordan, right? I have a lot of questions in my head how this become a BGS slabbed authentic PMG, but that's scenario number two. Fake card, real slab, mislabeled by BGS. Scenario number three will be fake card, fake slab. This to me is also a possibility. So that would be if somebody looked up a BGS pop report for PMG and they found a card that's authentic altered with not a lot of information, no pictures, no images. They saw the opportunity to make a counterfeit slab with a counterfeit label and put a red marker card in the slab and hope it passes eBay authentication. And to me, this should be caught by eBay authentication, right? Because what's the only protection a consumer would have against a fake slab with a real authentication number is eBay, right? But regardless, that's also a possibility. And I also want to say that it's completely my fault for lack of research before bidding on this card. I'm not blaming this on anybody. Like I said, it was an impulsive bid, and honestly, I didn't think I would get it. It wasn't until the auction was over and paid for, and I usually pay for it within an hour or so, just to keep to not keep the seller waiting, that I discovered Adam Gray's video and Dan's video. And since then, I've reached out to both of them, and both of them have been extremely helpful. So big thanks to both Adam and Dan, but for not doing my homework, it's my fault. Part of me was thinking, if research and extensive knowledge is required in the hobby for somebody like me that's a novice, then I think we have a problem here at the hobby, right? Because authentication guarantee would mean authentication guarantee, verbatim, right? So let me update you guys with the current situation. It's only been 4 days since I won and paid for the card, so time was relatively short. The card is currently on its way to eBay for authentication. It should get there, it says June 2nd or June 3rd. I contacted Adam and Dan on this topic. Adam made a reel in his Instagram channel in an attempt to get some attention from eBay. Basically, we're all waiting to see if eBay authentication will catch this card as counterfeits or at least not a PMG, right? But by looking at everybody's comments, it seems like the hope isn't very high. A lot of people mentioned that eBay would only authenticate the slab if the slab is real and the number on the slab is good. They would pass it as authentication. And my naive understanding before speaking to the expert was, like I said, authentication guarantee would mean authentication guarantee. If the listing says precious metal gems and it's not, then it should be guaranteed. But, you know, obviously my understanding is not 100% correct. So that's where we are. I also talked to the seller, and surprisingly, the seller has been very cooperative, very communicative. He claims that he submitted this card to BGS himself earlier this year. He even said himself that this is an error card and this might be an incomplete PMG. He also stated that why BGS did not label this as an error or missing serial number is beyond him, meaning he also thought the label should say something else than just precious metal gems. And also what's interesting is he said he was advised by eBay to list it as per the graded slab label and not call it a proof or test. So he said he has communicated to eBay that this may not be a precious metal gems as it was labeled on the card, but eBay told him to list as is. I've asked him to prove evidence of both the BGS receipts where he submitted himself and the eBay communication. He did provide the screenshots of the BGS receipts. It's very vague. He blacked out a lot of the areas, but all we can see from the screenshot is there was a PMG that was submitted and graded within a batch of submission to BGS. Now the eBay communication side, he did not provide any sufficient evidence yet. If I get it, I'll take a look at it and see if it's worth posting or not. So this is where we are at the moment. eBay will most likely not get to the authentication until June 2nd or 3rd, like I said, which is about a week away. Most people seem to think it will pass authentication, and I'm on the same boat. And if it does, I'm probably stuck with a card that's worth nothing, a $23,000 loss. I don't think there's much we can do until then, but like I said, I'm just putting these info out there for the awareness of the hobby. Again, it's on me for lack of researches. Like Adam said, we all make mistakes. And again, big thanks to Adam and Dan for helping me along the way. If you guys don't follow him, please give him a follow. I also contacted BGS and hope that they may have some photos of the card that was attached to the serial number. As you guys have suspected, I got nothing from BGS so far. If I get something, I will post that as well. Lastly, I want to say, obviously, this is pretty bad for the hobby, right? Authentication by BGS and eBay should mean something. And if this somehow passes through both, it's not a good look for the hobby. To me, a guarantee is a guarantee. If the card does not match what it says to be, then the sale should not go through. But hey, you know, it is what it is. I still love the hobby. I will still collect and buy the cards that I love. I think we all deserve some answers, right? I'll keep you guys posted once eBay authentication goes through. If by the end of the day, I couldn't recoup any of my losses and I'm stuck with basically a fake card, I will make sure the card does not circulate again within the hobby, just for the betterment of the hobby. Again, thanks for watching. Follow Adam, follow Dan. I will update you guys as soon as I get more information. Thank you again. Have a great day.